Next up, we want to welcome up, we have a real kind of leader, I guess you could say, in the space industry. Kris Kimel is the co-founder of Space Tango, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with. He has started and led a range of entrepreneurial enterprises and initiatives, and he leads one of the fascinating webinar series, which I encourage you to watch and participate in through the Humanity in Deep Space. So with that, I will welcome up Kris.
Thank you. Everybody hear me okay?
Hear you loud and clear. The floor is yours.
All right, thanks. I appreciate you allowing me to share a few minutes with your audience today. I understand you have a really good attendance, even though you had to go virtual at the last minute, but that's the way things go oftentimes. My name is Kris Kimel, and I am the co-founder of the commercial space company Space Tango, which is a entrepreneurial company that basically does R&D and manufacturing in the zero-G environment of space on the International Space Station, primarily in the areas of biology, biomedical, and novel materials. We've done a lot of things looking at different kinds of possible new kinds of pharmaceuticals, from plants, looking at things with regards to Parkinson's disease, MS. We've done some work on brain organoids and a number of other things, actually retinal implants with the company out of Connecticut that need to be manufactured in space if they were to work. And so it's really looking at applications on Earth, but also with an eye toward going in deeper space and how some of these techniques may work. Most of the equipment, the technology we have actually two R&D facilities permanently installed on station, where we send regular experiments from our partners all over the world, both research centers, NASA, as well as companies, commercial companies. And so that was really I was involved in building that company over about 12, 15 years. And so I got very heavily involved in that effort. And as I was involved with that and still involved, I got very interested in some of the challenges that we face relative to deep space, going beyond just low Earth orbit and, involving the moon and even beyond, whether it be Mars or, in some ways, whether it be automated systems, et cetera. And what Humanity in Deep Space is really trying to do is create a really lead a conversation involving discussions, projects, et cetera, looking at how, not so much the technology, although that's a very key aspect of what we do, but really looking at how we as humans are going to maintain our humanity and our humanness as we continue to transition to a spacefaring civilization. And of course, we are already a spacefaring civilization. Humans have been in space since the 60s. We've been to the moon. We've been on the moon. We've had people living and working in space for decades now on the shuttle, Mir Space Station, and now the International Space Station. And so we are already a spacefaring, really a civilization, and we're getting ready to make that next big leap. So we deal with a lot of things with Humanity in Deep Space. As Andrew indicated, you can go to our website, which is humanityindeepspace.com. We do a long series of webcasts on various topics, everything from the our physiological challenges that we're going to face as we go to space, psychological challenges regarding ethics, et cetera. And all of the webcasts are available online, even after we basically air them live. They are available on our website. And one of the areas that has been most interesting to us, and we continue to do a lot of work in, is the whole issue of food in deep space. And really looking at it on a lot of different levels, which I think we need to do. I think we need to look historically as well. When we look at humans exploring space, we need to understand the history of food as relative to humans. Food continues to be a major aspect in the human condition. I imagine the first humans thousands and thousands of years ago that came together were probably sharing a meal. And so food has a lot of, beyond just nutritional issues, which we talk a lot about in space, how many calories would an astronaut need to survive and to et cetera, et cetera. But it really goes beyond that. We need to be able to figure out how humans are going to not only survive, but to thrive in space. And a lot of what we talk about, we look at some of the longer term applications, but we also look at the first, with humanity in space, we're actually quite interested in the first, what we call the first 50 years. And that is, how are we going to do this initially on the moon? Not after we've been there for a while and have figured it out. We have, large greenhouses or whatever going on, and particularly on, going to Mars, which there's a lot of talk about now from a lot of private companies and from NASA and others about that we are on the cusp of actually sending humans to Mars. Whether that's 5 years from now or 10 years, 15 years, whatever it is, we're clearly closer now than we've ever been. And so the question becomes, how are we going to deal with this? If you're looking, for example, at a mission to Mars, you're looking at 5.5 to 6 months one way. In those initial missions, you say you're going to circumnavigate the planet, or perhaps you're going to try to land for a while and come back. So you're looking at 2.5, 3 year missions. And you look at, obviously, when you're talking about space exploration, weight and mass is everything. When you start looking at things like physiology, health, et cetera, and you start looking at things like food, weight and mass comes into it. A great, is a major player. And so we're expanding the whole kind of idea as we look at it and hold conversations about this. Really looking at not only plants, but other kinds of, kind of expanding the concept of space agriculture and looking at, cellular applications and other kinds of things that may be a part of the food environment. And also, trying to understand, even though it's going to be difficult, the physiological and psychological aspect of food, not only in allowing humans to work, but to thrive. We have to be able to thrive in space, particularly in the early missions. People have to work. It's not enough just to say, well, they need 1,900 calories a day to function. They need to be able to thrive. And again, you have to look deeper into the food profile to understand that. And so one of the things we do is we have people that are working with us that have worked at NASA and have grown, on the plant areas. You have people that are looking at neurogastronomy and some of those kinds of things. So that's what we're trying. That's what we're really trying to do. And actually, on May 10th, just so you know, we're actually doing a webcast called the Interplanetary Kitchen. We have 6 really interesting people from. People have done analog missions on Mars, analog missions, somebody who works in neurogastronomy, former chefs, a philosopher, somebody from the food industry, all going to be talking interdisciplinary in a sense, talking about this big challenge of how we're going to do this, how we're going to do it properly. So that's just in the few minutes. I didn't want to actually do a lot of slides because I just have a few minutes to share with you today. So I wanted to just basically, talk with you about this. You can go to Humanity in Deep Space, and you'll see the information. These are all free, and we generally have a good audience. And interestingly, we always have generally between 15, 20, and 30 different countries represented as part of the audience, which is good because this is a planetary conversation for all of us. It's not just for 1 or 2 countries or a few companies. So with that, in respect of everybody's time, I'll wrap up. If there's any questions, you can go ahead. At this point, go ahead and on the chat, you can let me know. Or otherwise, again, I appreciate it very, very much.